Welcome to our new digs, our new studios in the NYC. It's your boy Stephen A, in case you haven't figured it out. And I got to sit there and say this. I have to say this. Whoever decorated this place is pretty marvelous. Look at this photo right here. I mean, this is beautiful. This is beautiful, you know?
Morning, Stephen.
Hey.
Is this serious?
What do you mean?
We have a photo of you like it's your living room?
Oh, you know, Molly, you're the face of the network. You work on General Hospital, doing soap operas on ABC and stuff like that. They do stuff like this. But, if you want me to, I can holler at somebody for you. Check it out. I'll talk to somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Host could get some love around here. There we go. First Take starts right now.
I feel like this organization's in a good spot. They've obviously done it in the past, so I think they know what it takes and they know how to do it, and it's only a matter of time.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are going back to the NBA Finals.
I want to win the NBA championship. Like, it's always about winning for me.
One of the greatest regular seasons in NBA history. And now, for the first time, the NBA champion resides in Oklahoma City.
We did what it took this year to be champions, and we deserve this. We rose to the moment, and here we are.
The Thunder are champions, and we have a brand new studio. As you can see, good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Take. Thank you for being with us. We got Stephen A in the building. My guy, Brian Windhorst, who I have not seen in months, so I'm very happy to see you in the flesh. And Jay Will, of course. Gentlemen, what do we think of the new digs?
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
We like it.
I can't complain.
Yeah, all the angles, no hiding, nothing.
There are actually some very large photos of both of you in this building.
Yes.
Just to say that.
I want to say this. I did not ask for them. I don't think they're necessary, but I don't mind.
On that note, new studio, same show, clearly. And as I mentioned, the Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions. The Pacers gave OKC everything they could handle despite the devastating injury to Tyrese Haliburton, but the Thunder capped off a historically great season with SGA taking home finals MVP honors. Here's the MVP.
A lot of hard work, a lot of hours in the gym. This isn't just a win for me. This is a win for my family. This is a win for my friends. This is a win for everybody that was in my corner growing up. This is a win for the fans, the best fans in the world. I love you guys.
Not so long ago, Shai, this was a 22-win team. So what does it mean to you now to be standing here as a champion?
Yeah, it means everything. It's why you play the sport. You play the sport to win. You play every sport to win. We have a team full of competitors. We did what it took this year to be champions, and we deserve this. We rose to the moment, and here we are.
The title capped off a historic season for OKC, who finished with 84 wins in the regular season and playoffs combined, tied for the third most in NBA history, just behind the 95-96 Bulls and those 2015-2016 Warriors. Good company to be in. Stephen A., here's what I want to know from you. What's the biggest reason OKC won this title?
Well, it's because of that brother right there, who, by the way, I want to applaud for reminding America and the world what you play for. I mean, I know there are people that have tried to get us to forget about that, but you actually play trying to win some championships. It actually does matter. So I applaud him for that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is something spectacular. To be approaching his 27th birthday, to be 3 consecutive years averaging over 30, to be a runner-up for league MVP last year, and then to show up this season, capture league MVP honors, leading the team to 68 wins, coming into the finals with an 80-18 record overall, and then to play the way that he played is just something to behold. I watched him yesterday coming out just to start the game. I saw other guys a bit jittery at first, and they ultimately award off, but they start off a little jittery. Not him. He came out looking to score and let you know what you expect is what I'm going to give you. He was not fazed at all. He didn't shoot well, 8 for 27, but he didn't look panicky. He didn't look like he was lacking composure or anything like that. I give him all the credit in the world, but they were assisted to some degree by the injury to Tyrese Haliburton, which broke all of us. If you're a basketball fan, that was exactly what you did not want to see. When he went down, you just said, damn, because remember, he shot 4 times. He hit his first 3 shots. He hit 3 of his first 4 shots. All 3 were 3-pointers. And it looked like it was going to be one of those nights where this brother was going to go off. And if he was going to go off, it was going to call upon Shai and the rest of the crew in Oklahoma City to give you a little something extra if they were going to pull out a championship. And then he goes down, and you're just deflated. Indiana still fought and what have you. You look at Rick Carlisle, you look at the rest of the team, the Miles Turners and Neesmiths of the world, looked like the moment was a little bit too big for them. T.J. McConnell had a big-time third quarter in the Game 7, just like he did in Game 5, but then only had one shot in each fourth quarter in Game 5 and Game 7. You just looked at it at the end of the day, and when you ask yourself the biggest reason for the Thunder winning the title, it's because they have one of the top 2 players on the planet playing for them, who's a reigning league MVP, that just put the world on notice. I have arrived, I am here, and I have no intentions of going anywhere anytime soon. The road to Titletown is going to have to come through me. That's what I saw in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that's why Oklahoma City are the reigning champions right now.
I agree with you. I think there's a larger identity picture that people may not talk about as much today, that I think, look, players need to be set up for success. And some people, like you or Stephen A. Smith, we just had the cold intro. But there is somebody that found and saw Stephen A. Smith and was like, that's different. Now, you have to mold into that, the whole LeBron James talking about, the person in the Coliseum, understand all that. But the architect of culture over hype to me is Sam Presti. Because if you saw in that third quarter, when they start to put the squeeze on them, the star of this team is their defense. It's the sum of the collective. Now, SGA is a superstar. There's no doubt about that. But their defense is the one that gives you so many points per possessions, and that's what makes this team elite. You talk about flipping PG into SGA and 5 first-round picks. Think about that foresight, to have that, to see that SGA has turned out into the player he is. Jalen Williams, the 12th pick in the draft. Santa Clara, where is it? A guy that had to practice and participate in a scrimmage during the NBA draft combine. Sam Presti found him. The vision to sit out Chet Holmgren for a year. Oh, you're talented. I'm going to need you with this injury. Sit out for a year. Cautionary tale. And then for him to defensively anchor the backbone of this defensive championship team. The fact that they have 15-plus first-round picks. The fact that they have so much cap space that sets them up for the future. Cason Wallace, Lou Dort. You add in Alex Caruso, all the names. Hartenstein. We talk about what he would have been like on New York Knicks team this year. The pieces that he's masterminded, put together, it reminds me similar to Howie Roseman and what they were doing with Philadelphia, right? It's like, I'm not going to overpay for certain pieces. I'm going to have them be homegrown. I'm going to make them be additive. And I'm going to value system and alignment over individuals. And these 2 leaders in Jalen Hurts and SGA, MVP caliber players that lead with how they play on the field and how they play on the court, more so than what they say. And I think Sam Presti has learned a lot over his time at OKC, and I think his name deserves to be in the lights with the Bob Myers and with the Pat Rileys.
What does a perfect NBA basketball team look like? You got to have a superstar, right? You're not winning without a superstar. Check. You got to have a couple of really good supporting players that you can rely on to, like, maybe score 40 points in a finals game. They got it. Check. You need size. You got to have size. They have 2 7-footers that they start. You got to have depth. Now, they may only go 7 or 8 deep when it really matters, but they play 10 deep, no problem. You got to have camaraderie. You got to have defense. You got to have flexibility. You got to have leadership. Look at this team. That's how you get to 68 wins. That's how you get to 2 Game 7s that you win. That's how twice you're down in series 2-1 on the road where you're facing Game 4 and you're in trouble in those games and you get through it. They are a perfect modern basketball team. They have been constructed as if they were constructed in a laboratory. That doesn't always work when that happens, but that's what they have. Now, can they keep going? That's another question. But they are a perfect team, and we saw them go through a near-perfect season.
One of the things that I'm going to tell on them anyway, you probably don't like it, I don't give a damn, but I'm going to tell on them anyway. One NBA countdown last night, and Oklahoma City Thunder won the championship, and the confetti is just descending from the rafters and what have you. And I look over at Kendrick Perkins, and Kendrick Perkins is shedding a tear. Kendrick Perkins, because he was so happy for the owner, Clay Bennett. He started talking about, off the air, what a wonderful, wonderful owner and what a wonderful, wonderful man he is. It starts there. Because when you have an owner that people want to work for, and an owner that players want to play for, that goes a long way. I've been all over Sam Presti. I've talked about his greatness as an executive, but I said I don't give a damn about Executive of the Year. You've been the head of this franchise since 2007. Always be closing. Glengarry Glen Ross, one of my favorite all-time speeches by Alec Baldwin. I said, always be closing. You got to close. And sure enough, he closed last night. Dagnall, young coach, made a huge, because if they had lost this finals, Molly, we would have been talking about game one. We would have been talking about why did you change your lineup before the ball was even tipped off. Rick Carlisle was already in your head. And as we watched the great Rick Carlisle, who is a great coach, all right, we looked at him throughout this series, and there was plenty of times we looked at him and we said, he's getting the best. He's getting the better of Dagnall. So to watch him do what he did as a coach, you can't say enough about it. They overcame all the skepticism, all the criticism. Today, we have to look at Sam Presti as being that elite executive, not just the executive of the year now. Look at all the deals we got to think about, the Russell Westbrook deals, the Paul George deals and stuff like that. We got to look at the moves that he's made in accumulating those assets. Not only do they sit here as champions, they're the second youngest team in NBA history to win a championship. The only team that was younger was the 76-77 Portland Trailblazers, when led by Bill Walton and Lionel Hollins and those boys. That's what we're talking about here. So you have youth. You've already captured a championship, and it ain't like you have to look at them and say, well, Shai's going to turn 27. Dort's 26. Jalen Williams is 24. You don't have to stop there even if you lost one of them or somebody. You have so much assets coming down the pike. You're not going away.
Yeah, I want to expound on that sentiment, gentlemen. So the Thunder's win in Game 7 makes them the 7th different franchise to win the championship over the last 7 seasons. This is the first time in NBA history that 7 different franchises won the title over a 7-season span. So, Stephen A., with that being said, and Wendy alluded to it a little bit earlier, a lot of parity lately, but do you think this is the beginning of a dynasty?
It could be. And because of the assets, I would still, having said that, although it could be, I'm going to lean more towards a no than a yes. Here's why.
Interesting.
I'm looking at the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm looking at Anthony Davis, Kyrie once he's returned. If Cooper Flagg is a speck of what the hell we think he is, and we think he is going to be great, look out for the Dallas Mavericks. The Houston Rockets, which we'll get into later, just acquired Kevin Durant, and you kept Şengün, and you kept Amin Thompson, and you kept Van Vliet, and you kept Jabari Smith. I mean, they're not going away. I'm just looking at the West itself. It's just as wild as it was this year. I think it's going to be just as wild next year.
So what's the first thing you need to do when you have a championship team? You got to hold them together, right? So in the next couple of weeks, they are in position to sign Shai to a contract extension. It's going to be huge.
Yes.
It's going to be the largest one ever. He's going to be years in that contract where he's over $70 million. 2, they got Chet Holmgren, who they can sign to an extension this summer. Jalen Williams, who they can sign to an extension this summer. They're going to lock those 3 guys in for 5 years. Now, with the way the league is structured right now, they're trying to squeeze teams out. They're trying to squeeze because of the second apron. Even if the Thunder lose some of these role players, even if they can't keep, and I'm not going to speculate who they may or may not, because of the 15 first-round picks. I mean, guys, they have the 15th pick in this draft on Wednesday. I mean, who knows? Maybe they draft a guy there that ends up being really great for them. Maybe they don't. They got 14 more first-round picks in the next 7 years. They got guys sitting out right now who can contribute. Because, if you think about the last really great team that lasted for 10 years, you're talking about the Spurs, the 2000s. You go back to the Bulls. Look at the players that were supporting Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker in 2014, completely different than the ones that were supporting them in 2007. The Bulls in the 90s totally flipped that team over around Pippen and Jordan because they were able to bring in extra players. The Thunder are in position to do that, even under the current rules. So Stephen A. brings up a good point. We are in the parity era. Not only have we not had a repeat champion, Molly, we haven't had a team in these last 7 make it out of the second round.
Yeah.
So I'm not giving them anything, but they are best positioned probably since the Warriors 10 years ago with the young players they had under contract control to do something special.
I would agree with you. I think they're in the best position. Hear me out on this one, though. I think the days of the dynasties kind of over. Knocking on the door is one thing. Remaining healthy is another. And I think body types have a lot to do with remaining healthy. We'll get into the whole Tyrese Haliburton conversation. Look what happened to Steph Curry this year. Look what happened to Aaron Gordon this year. One guy tried to fight through it, another guy chose not to fight through it. Longevity of the career. We've had 8 torn Achilles this season alone. I think pace and space and the amount of possessions we have in this game, with the amount of money people are able to earn, I think are going to create some issues with longevity we have. And seeing these dynasties, to me, a dynasty is 3, right? It's 3 in a certain amount of years. You start winning 3. So health plays so much into that with contracts.
Is it 3 straight or 3 and 5 years, 3 and 4 years?
I'm down with 3 and 5 years. I think 3 and 5.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I would say this to you. I think Oklahoma City warrants the conversation.
Yes.
And I think they're the closest conceivably to it simply because of the assets they have in terms of players on their roster, in terms of their depth, and the assets they have in terms of draft capital. Like when you have 15 first-round picks, but you also are the reigning defending champions with a starting 5 that has size, athleticism, et cetera, and then you can go 10 deep, right? That means you can afford to suffer to some degree. Of course, you don't want Shai going or whatever, but you don't want Jalen Williams going. But you can afford a lot of things other teams can't afford because of the assets that you have. Everybody can't say that.
Agree.
They can.
Yeah, they can. I guess just with so much player movement, there's so much volatility each year. Like, think about what just happened with Houston, just adding KD. We still don't know where Giannis is going to be. There's still so many conversations because it's so, how do you say it? Fluid.
It's fluid.
It's fluid every year.
It's fluid.
So 7 champions in 7 years. I just don't know if all of a sudden we're going to see consistency for the next 5.
Yeah, let's dive into that injury conversation because it's very concerning. Devastating to see Tyrese Haliburton go down with that Achilles last night, considering all of his heroics throughout the playoffs, putting them in position to even be playing in a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Obi Toppin crushed when he saw his teammate go down.
We need a Ty out there, and he's been good for us all year. And for him to go down, getting a game like that, it's like it sucked the soul out of us. I ain't gonna say out of everybody, but I don't feel like I played good because I was thinking about it the whole day, and I felt like it was my fault.
All shared in heartbreak for Hallie as everything was set up for an epic Game 7. Stephen A., obviously we already saw stars like Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard go down with an Achilles. Now Tyrese Haliburton in the biggest game of his life, a Game 7. What was your reaction when it happened? Obviously you were there in person.
I threw up my hands. I was so hurt for the brother. I really, really was because, you know, I'm one of those guys that I love. The Game 7, the moment, the adrenaline, the fervor of the fans outside, just the atmosphere. And it's like, yes, and now let's get it on. It's Game 7. It's no excuses. It's nothing. It's all here for you. And I just said to myself when he went down like that, it's like, how you going to overcome this? It's
and
like
he was balling.
And he was balling. That's it. Three of his first 4 shots, 3 3-pointers. And you saw the way he was going. It was like, oh, my goodness, he came to play tonight. This ain't Game 5. He came to play. You're going to have to be great to beat them with Tyrese Haliburton looking like this. So it was going to call for SGA and the crew to summon up something extra to do it. And then he goes down like that. And it wasn't like it was the calf strain. When he fell down and he laid down and he started banging his hand on the floor, you're like, whoa, this is really, really bad. Then you obviously saw them helping him off the court, and you was like, it's over. He's done. And in everybody's eyes, it looked like a torn Achilles. And your heart just, you felt, and I saw his dad. His dad was crying. He was devastated and stuff like that. And, obviously he was crying. He was just miserable and all of this stuff. You saw it deflated. Give the Pacers credit, though. They fought, and they were fighting immediately after he went out. Obi Toppin, he could have played better. No points, 4 shots. After the way that he had been playing throughout this finals, that was a disappointment. But we understand where he's coming from. You look at Miles Turner and Nesmith, they could have played better. The moment just seemed a bit too big, but it would not have felt that way if Haliburton had been rolling. See, that's the key here. Sometimes the moment is just big no matter what. But when you see a guy like him having that ability to raise his teammates' play, it makes sense what Obi was saying. Now, you'd like to believe, all right, he's gone now. I got to step up. I got to handle it. Well, it didn't happen for them like that. Pascal Siakam could have had a better game. He wasn't awful by any stretch, but he could have had a better game. But when you saw Haliburton go down, it was like you realized, like, it's over. Even though they stayed in it, you were just waiting for OKC to create that level of separation because it was just too much to overcome. It's a shame.
Devastating. A Game 7, Windy.
I was so very upset by seeing it. I was kind of taken out of the game. And so the fans were taken out of it.
Yes, for a little while.
The Thunder were kind of out of it. It was such a terrible thing. And he said before Game 6, I understand the risks. I've had conversations. I'm going to play. Shams told us that the doctors told him, this is an injury, that if it was a regular season, you'd sit multiple weeks. He knew. They got the MRI. He knew that there was weakness in there. And he played anyway. And he played brilliantly in Game 6, all things considered. He gave himself confidence. He gave his teammates confidence. And as you said, Stephen A., we know that when Tyrese Haliburton gets off to a good start, he plays great. And we know when he scores over 20 points, they're very hard to beat. Mm-hmm. He had 9 points in the first 6 minutes. To the point where Mark Daigneault, the Thunder coach, was telling his team, get up on him in the huddles. He was saying, I don't care if he's 4 feet behind the line, get up on him. By the way, that play was Shai running out at him because he had been told by his head coach, don't let him have that open shot again. And he was going to the basket, probably to get fouled or score. And that is what we were robbed with. Not only are we robbed about next season, I don't know what's going to happen with this Pacers team. And when Tyrese went to the back, when he was in the hallway, he was crying. Not just because his leg was in so much pain. He was crying because he understood what he had just lost. And that made it a basketball tragedy. And so while we absolutely must celebrate the basketball success story of the Thunder, it is very hard to come to grips with the basketball tragedy, the personal tragedy that we saw last night.
It made me think about a larger topic. This pace, in this year's pace for the NBA, 108.9, is faster than any other season since the early 70s. And 8 Achilles tears this season that we just went through. To me, that's not a coincidence. That's more of a trend that we're starting to see with what's happening in the sport.
3 Pacers.
Exactly, 3. And it brought me back to the KD moment, Stephen A., right?
Yes.
You know, we talk about that Game 5 against Toronto, in Toronto for KD, where we saw it. You talk about Jason Tatum, Dame.
Rolled up on.
I just think it's, as it relates to protocols, and as we have more pace and space, as we have more expand the court, more threes, it increases the problem of injuries, soft tissue injuries like this. And I think the NBA is going to have to find different ways, protocols to put in place to minimize these types of things that are occurring, because the trend is going up and up and up.
Fair, Molly.
And it comes from the calf.
And one of the things before we close the segment that we got to point to, it makes me think about J.J. Redick. When J.J. Redick has argued in defense of the modern-day player, one of the biggest things he brought up was pace of play.
Wear and tear.
Compared to what it used to be. And he talked about there's a level of physicality on the human body that they go through now that y'all are not appreciating enough. And when we see these kind of injuries, we realize how much sense J.J. Redick was making.